Good morning, Board of Directors, and over to you, Director Harrington.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Clean Water Services Tuesday, August 11th, 2026 Clean Water Services Board of Directors Work Session. Clerk Moss, could you take the roll, please?
Certainly. Director Snyder?
Here.
Director Treese?
Here.
Chair Harrington?
Here.
And I'll announce Director Willie and Phi are excused.
Thank you. So we have a few items for today. First is on utility billing feasibility. Take it away.
Yeah, very brief. We're just very excited about these two topics we're bringing to you today. So the first one's on our utility billing feasibility study. There's essentially three parts to this. One is how we bill. The second part is some emergency assistance programs, and then an income assistance program. So I'll turn it over to Kathy. One of the things I do want to mention before we get into this, we've got some really good feedback from some of our partners that helped, inform some of the last minute changes. I just want to highlight the partnership on that because our teams have been working very closely on what a billing system could look like in the future if it were to shift, and then what are some short and long-term options for utility assistance for people who may need it. But that's been a very strong partnership with the city. So just wanted to call that out and especially call out Kathy's work in coordinating with them. So I'll turn it over to her.
Thank you, Raheem. So Kathy Lee, Chief Financial Officer of Clean Water Services. Good morning, Chair and members of the board. I want to first start out and have the consultants with EMA introduce themselves. They're here, and part of this presentation was a lot of the data they pulled together along the way.
Hi, I'm Craig Yakopenik with EMA. I'm Executive Vice President. Nice to meet all of you.
Hello, Elisa Mann, Principal Consultant with EMA. Thank you so much for having us.
And for context, what does EMA specialize in? Finances, analytics?
EMA, we're 50 some years old now. We work specifically for water, wastewater utilities, and we do work with finance systems, a lot of work with billing and information systems, field services, process control, pretty much anything a utility does, the water, wastewater utility does.
Great. Are those domestic utilities?
Most of it is. We do a lot of work in Canada, but
North America.
most of it is. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So just an awareness, these slides have a lot of information on them. These are kind of complex areas. We tried to simplify or better communicate this by
working on it for a while.
Yes, by breaking up the presentation into two areas. One is the billing state, and the other is the assistance program. And then within that, reporting on how we bill with Tualatin Valley Water District, and separately how we bill with the 7 cities, because it's different.
So before you move off of this slide, I would like to add some comments. Ordinarily, I wait till the end.
Okay.
No, the next slide.
Okay.
After you're done.
Okay. So about a year ago, the political environment looked a little bit different than it does now. But at that point in time, some of the cities had asked us to take on billing ourselves for our regional rate. So at that direction, the board perceived, we went forward with, and you directed us to go and perform a utility billing feasibility study. Part of that study was to look at the feasibility of us direct billing for all of our customers, and also, look at how we joint bill with TVWE. But one of the biggest pieces was the ask of the board was also offering a customer assistance program. So this study would look at options to do that. So we contracted with EMA in April of 2026, and part of that contract, we have a copy of that attached in the package so you can kind of see the deliverables related to it, was to identify the feasibility of Clean Water Services direct billing all of our customers and explore customer assistance programs.
So the context that I want to provide, particularly since we're in the community climate that we are, is to note that going back to the Clean Water Services Board of Directors in 2020, so different board composition, we took efforts during that era to set up some low-income utility billing assistance, And from what we'd also learned with our city partners, we were interested in seeing the feasibility of this and how would the mechanics work given the regional and local setup. I raise it today because I'm concerned, because some of the testimony that we've received has been a bit accusatory that we've not been mindful of this, when in fact we have been mindful of this, in my view, as a board of director member, with regard to the work plan for the agency. And I think we will see if we take future steps for action in our business meeting. I think we will see some erroneous positioning about any particular person or persons getting credit for this. So that's why I just wanted to set the context up front that it's been a minute, right? It's been a long minute that we've needed to get the necessary information and the right timing to look at this approach. So I just wanted to get that out early and often.
I'd just like to add a piece of this. Although it was not rate specific, we also during COVID suspended a rate increase, which was really it was mindful of the economic situation that everyone was in. It certainly wasn't directed just at low income, but at the same time, it was a step in to address those issues. So it also sets that stage of this board has been receptive to the considerations of affordability and the pressure on our ratepayers.
And definitely on the ARPA and CARES,
Yes.
the assistance that the board
Yeah.
had approved. Also.
Yeah. So thank you for giving me the time to get that out now before we go into the further depth of data.
So current status of billing. So how does Clean Water Services bill today? So starting there at the top of that slide, we talk about Clean Water Service. We set the regional rate for all customers in our service area, and we establish a local rate for the customers that Clean Water serves directly for sanitary and storm services. Going down there, 54,000 of those customers, we joint bill with Tualatin Valley Water District on the same bill. On a shared billing system. 98,000 of our customers, the 7 partner cities bill on their utility bill, and that's the cities of Beaverton, Hillsborough, Tigard, Tualatin, Forest Grove, Sherwood, and Cornelius. So they bill that on their bill face, and they remit the regional fees to the district monthly. 13,000 of our customers are clean water only customers, and those are the urban unincorporated areas of Washington County, the cities of Banks, Durham, Gaston, King City, and North Plains. And we bill those customers on our shared system with Tualatin Valley Water District.
Is the 54,000 TBWD, are those all unincorporated as well?
Yeah, so they're customers, unincorporated customers that TVW bills water for.
Okay.
And then we provide the sanitary and storm service.
I'm just trying to understand that.
So the total customers that we bill, commercial and residential, is 165,000 customers approximately. 67,000 of them, so the 54 and the 13,000 together, they're billed on a shared system with Tualatin Valley Water District. But for an awareness, only 8% of our customers are billed directly by Clean Water Services. So one thing that indicates is that if we were to bring billing in-house, it definitely has an impact on staffing and resources and time. So there's an awareness. I did put a note down there, so there's an awareness. We do have roughly 60 industrial customers that Clean Water bills directly.
Is that 8%?
No, the 8% is the 13,000 customers that we bill. Yeah, the industrial is not included here, but an awareness that we do bill all industrial and remit local rates to the cities.
So the 8% is the 67,000.
No, the 8% is the 13 that we bill directly.
Oh, okay. So let me ask this question then. Is this to say that those 8% of customers are getting a very efficient bill because they're benefiting from the cost spread?
And similar for the, and that's a similar advantage of the 98,000 bill by the cities. There's a value in
Consolidation.
consolidating the billing, right? And the cost
Okay.
associated with that.
Okay. That's really important for me to understand
Mhm.
the efficiencies of consolidation
Mhm.
because, and I'm writing it down, because we've heard this argument in other domains with our county hat on about some city councilors feeling that the cities are subsidizing other people's services,
Mhm.
which is not the case here. It's rather the consolidation in all aspects of the clean water services business. That's why we were set up to replace, USA was created to replace all those. How many were there? 40 some odd, a lot of
A lot.
26 agencies. Thank you for the assist. So that is really helpful to me. And I don't intend to ask questions along the way, but
You bring up a really good point, Charrington. The concern from some of the cities about subsidizing other services that don't benefit their residents is a legitimate concern. You'll see through some of the future slides that, and as we present options for billing,
is it a concern to look out for versus it's a concern today in this case?
both,
Okay,
Mhm.
both.
you're going to have to keep teaching me.
Yeah, because
Thank you.
one of the things you'll see this in a future in a future slide here. The cities are not getting, they're not, there is, there's no reimbursement for the cost for them to bill on our behalf today, with the exception
Yes.
of one city.
I understand that.
So
Yeah.
they're having to absorb those costs within there. So that is the little nuance
Yeah.
about the existing state.
But we've really fine tuned it over the years because prior to us being on the board back in 2005 or 6, there was a study done where the local cities were subsidizing the UUA service, and so that parity had tried to be reached, and now we're really down to the further fine tuning through it.
I think a lot of the requests from this board, having a updated cost of service study, an updated rate study, a lot of what you've asked us to do is position us in a way to be more transparent on where these costs are coming from, which is now going to inform how we move forward. So without that work, we couldn't do this. I'll turn it over back to Ken.
So next slide. So current state, but this is specific to Tualatin Valley Water District, so that we joint bill on the same system. So who decides what for the regional local rate? Clean Water Services establishes that rate that's billed through the system. What we pay. So under our intergovernmental agreement with Tualatin Valley Water Service, we pay them for the cost of service to do the joint billing together, and that could include things from merchant fees to postage and printing, and their staff doing the billing, customer shut off, what meter reads, and customer service. So costs that we share together with that joint system. So the billing system also, we're 50-50 ownership of the Open SmartFlex billing system. We share customer service with them, so we pay for a portion of the cost of their customer service. That includes like the actually customer service and billing within their group. And by billing with them on the water customers, TVW does shut off related to enforcement on payment. So when you look at advantage of this existing system, one is that combined bill. So the customer gets one bill. There's some cost savings related to that. the ability to shut off water on the customers that we do joint bill and have water service. The customers that we bill directly for just Sani and Storm, we don't have that option. Even on the bills we bill under that same system. Joint billing reduces costs for certain elements, definitely. And now we have one billing platform that all accounts are built off of. Some of the trade-offs are, a loss of control of cost to some extent by the district itself, because a lot of it is managed by Tualatin Valley Water District, and under our agreement, we pay for that shared cost. Some of that control of the cost that's paid out related to that the systems. And also within our current agreement, TVWD owns all the contracts related to the billing system itself, collections, banking services, Paymentus. So they contract with and maintain all of those services. A little lack of the control there. And then in relation to consulting services, if the district, I should say, Tualatin Valley Water District sees a need for consulting services to stabilize or work through the billing system, under our agreement, there is this cost share, then a 50-50 on those services to provide that billing itself.
Do we get to participate in the decision making around the consultants?
We do to some extent, but also, there's this, if there's a need for them to manage the system, we work through that to stabilize the system and bill. It's part of that agreement. So now current state, now this is for the 7 partner cities. So in the current state, on the regional rates, we develop those rates that the cities bill for on our behalf. Cities have their own local program, and so they set their own local rates. And those are all billed on the same bill itself. What we pay for currently, as Rahim mentioned, we do not currently pay anything towards the cost of billing for our services with the city. One city does add a fee onto their rate to collect, but now as we look forward and working with the cities, we're going to be looking at how we would participate in and pay our fair share of the costs related to the billing. One other fee that the cities do charge is a right-of-way fee. So it's a percentage that's applied to our regional rate that covers the cost of maintaining our utilities in their city limits.
Just for clarity, not every city charges a right-of-way fee.
Yeah. And you'll see that in just like, and for shut off. So currently, cities bill water on the bill, and they through that water service, they initiate shut off of service for non-payment. Some of the advantages, CDOS staff, billing teams, and so the city's staff bill and remit to Clean Water Services. They have the water shut-off ability to enforce payment. There's one combined bill, which gives transparency to the customer to really understand the cost of their sanitary and storm service, because there is this regional and this local program together. Some of the trade-offs are that we don't receive a lot of the reporting information related to our customers, like bad debt collections. All the billings happens on individual separate billing systems. And so, if we were to bring it house, each system is bringing in different types of data. The ability to actually bring it in is limited or has its risks. We don't have true access to our customers itself. We don't know, each year we have to ask for EDU and ESU from their billing systems in order to calculate our regional rates. It has its impact. And currently we have, different agreements with each city that we're working on updating. So, now we're talking about IGA. So first we're going to talk about the IGA with Tualatin Valley Water District. It was we first started joint billing with them back in 1994. So we had our first agreement with them back then. The agreement really relates to that shared billing service and our payment of the cost to bill for their customer. It was updated in 2004 and with a 20-year term that expired just now, June of 2025. And we went into a second amendment to extend out that agreement for 5 years to June 30, 2030. So what the agreement says, currently there's a cost, the TPW establishes a cost reimbursement methodology. They invoice us monthly based on those costs, and each year they provide an update of the next year's planned expenditures to help us in our budget process. Under the extended contract through 2030, we do have an option for a 12-month termination with convenience. But with that option, we would receive our billing data to move into a new system, but the platform and the licenses would remain with TBW because they own the.
We wouldn't have a system.
We wouldn't have a system, yes. So now we're going to talk a little bit about costs. So with Tualatin Valley Water District, under our operating agreement, this slide here, first we're showing you kind of cost history on that billing service from 2020 through 2026. And we're focusing on the detail related to the cost paid in fiscal year 26 of 2.6 million was an all-in cost. And in there, you see that up above it talks about TWD service, that 2.2 million. That's made up of our joint billing charges at 1.8 million, the contracted project management of 0.24 million, and first level support from Open at 0.16 million. With then the billing system itself, we pay our 50% of those fees at 0.39 million. So as you can see from the chart, costs have nearly doubled since 2020 on the system itself. And with the most recent update to the cost of service study for TVWD, they did indicate and now bill us only for actual labor time, and they adjusted the factor more in alignment with resources used. But one thing they did add in that contract was a indirect billing rate, and that's that orange line you see there that shows that there is an additional cost that's added then as 3.16 factor on cost. So it did have an impact on the cost we pay, but it's that full funding of the billing service with them.
So,
And that orange, what orange?
So in 2025, they started charging a indirect overhead rate, and they calculate that factor based on their costs of, all in cost.
Allocation plan.
Yeah,
County.
okay.
Yeah, and so they take that factor and they multiply it by direct costs they've identified to come to our cost of all in cost of service.
so my difficulty is in fully understanding the difference between the 2.2. So you have a $2.2 million line above
Mhm.
with the 2.6 all-in billing cost.
Only difference between that amount is the add-in of, see the billing system SaaS at
Yes.
0.39, that is an addition to the 2.2 million. 2.2 million represents our joint billing cost itself.
Yep.
For services. That additional is the SaaS, our share of the ownership of that
Oh.
system itself.
Okay, so we're paying an ownership share,
Mhm.
but at the end of the contract, they'll still own the whole system.
They'll own the
So are we actually just, in a different analogy, are we just renting our share of the license use?
Well, the intent would be, so it's a SaaS system, so software as a service. We have a contract. Under that term, we would both participate 50-50. If we left that environment, they would be left with that system.
Yep.
And
Okay, okay.
We couldn't take that system with us.
No,
no, because it's a contract with Tualatin Valley Water District.
Okay.
They're renting us use of their system.
yep. That's where I came to the rental analogy.
But when you look at the IGA that formulated this plan, it was a shared partnership of that system. So we participate 50% in the buy and implementation of it, and the future then
But the
support.
ownership of it.
But the
on the
ownership
company.
is a contract with them. Yes.
I think this again highlights the many complexities that we have with how we build, but
Hmm.
there's options to look forward to, which we'll talk about in a few.
Is it still an on-site system or is it moved to the cloud?
It's in the cloud.
Okay. But it hasn't always been in the cloud.
No, the
'Cause I remember
homegrown
you went
system
through
that
some
we
changes.
merged from was an in-house system that was developed by staff at Tuolumne Valley Water District.
Yeah.
Hmm. It was a legacy system that needed to be replaced.
But that was part of your history. When did, on your previous slide,
Mhm.
when did the SAS system come online?
We went in um, July of 2022. We moved over to the SAS,
Okay,
Open Smart Flex.
because I knew we were doing something during my term. So,
Yeah, that was a big
Yeah.
selection, implementation, go
Yeah.
live.
okay,
That happened during the pandemic. It was
okay.
pretty-
Thank you. Now
Yeah.
that part of the puzzle's been filled for me. Thank you.
So that the ending of the talk on right now of Tuolumne Valley Water District. Now we're talking about our billing with the cities, subsidies. We're in the process of updating the IGAs. We met with you on that in a past board meeting, talking about the status of those. Currently, we have at least 3 cities that have signed agreements, and in those agreements, we acknowledge that we should be and we will pay for the cost of billing the service for the city, for the district itself. So, and as we're moving forward to getting the IGA signed with the other cities, we're looking at that language and how we would implement the programs. So back on July 27th, we met with the city managers and the finance directors to talk about how do we move forward and offer a payment for the cost of billing. So the ask of the cities was to make sure that it covered the cost of billing, collecting and remitting that regional rate to the district itself. So the agreement was the cities were going to go back and coordinate a response to us of what that cost is and how we would administer that payment. Once that was decided, then we would go into a separate memorandum of understanding, separate from the operating agreement that would really address that billing piece and might have a limited term, maybe a 3-year term, with the ability to look and see if that process was working.
One thing that, when we had the discussion with, if you could go back to the previous slide.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think there was a very strong awareness about having a customer-centered approach here, where like not charging the customer twice for costs that were just incurred once. So that's the work that Kathy was referencing, where the city finance directors are meeting to talk about what does that percentage look like. Because it varies for different cities, but we've asked for a one-size-fits-all to the level we can. So we'll be coordinating with them again to see how they've identified what those costs are that are truly for CWS, not just for them. So that's coming. Just wanted to hit on that point, the last bullet again. We all recognize that this discussion about billing costs should not hinder the rest of the operating IGAs. So we will have some general language in the operating IGAs that references the MOU that Kathy talked about, whatever that agreement looks like, so that we can at least get those operating IGAs complete so that we don't have to worry about them. So you'll be seeing a lot of those operating IGAs move quicker in the next months.
So let me compliment you on this because one of my concerns is around making sure that the customers aren't being billed twice. And it really, because essentially, in my view, to simplify it, I'm looking for ensuring that there is not just a standard cost allocation model that a local government would use, but a specialized cost allocation that deals with just the billing. So that is going to put the onus on them and may be more cities that have a slightly higher cost because of the level of audit that they have to go through, the sophistication of their operation versus some that are much smaller.
Even just economies of scale and them trying to do
Yes.
this work.
Good point. Yeah. Because they own the customer, and that's a cost that we're providing a regional resource to them for the benefit of that one customer, their customer. So it's very nuanced, and I really trust you with that.
Yeah, even if you just use an example, the cost they pay to their meter readers varies between the different cities. So we would expect different costs. We're waiting to see what they come back with.
Yeah.
And they're working on identifying what those true costs are for CETA for them to bill on our behalf. Again, we know we won't solve this like tomorrow. This is something we want to get in place and then see how the actuals are trending over time and then adjust as we need to. That doesn't belong in the operating IGAs. It belongs in something that we've all agreed on that.
Yes.
Belongs on something else that can be updated based on how these costs fluctuate over time.
Yeah.
Even the cost of their own billing systems varies between all of them. But that's just work we're continuing to do.
Mhm. Thank you very much.
So, in the work and reworking the city IGAs, so on this slide here, we're showing you, based on our fiscal year 27 estimated revenue collections, we're providing for each city whether they do currently assess a right-of-way fee, and how those operate is that percentage is applied to our regional rate to their customer, and they retain that fee, that additional fee, and it relates to our use of their right-of-way and the maintenance of that. Also, when we're looking at the agreement for the administration fee, that's what we're talking about now, that fee in order for them to pay for the cost of the billing their customers. And currently, Hillsborough is the only one. They have a 2% admin fee. It is applied to our regional rate and retained by the city to cover its cost of billing. The final column there is really showing you then just our estimated revenue collections. You understand the magnitude or the amount of for 27. So that's the amount by city, and it's about 110 million a year that they bill and remit to Clean Water Services.
I think what would help me on this table is to see an estimated number of customers.
Yes. So by city. Oh, okay.
The other question that I have on this particular table is the history of how this evolved and why some have right-of-way fees and others don't.
How one does and others don't.
No, the right-of-way fees.
Oh, I see. Thank you. Thank you.
Administration fee.
I was
on
getting lost.
the Tigard side of that when it started.
Okay.
But-
Yeah, you
Enlighten us.
It was a point in time where Tigard, from a financial perspective, was challenged, and it became clear that everyone else that was using the right of way was paying fees. Clean Water Services wasn't, and so that didn't seem appropriate, and so we took action.
So my question is, should we expect that Tualatin, Forest Grove, and Cornelius will be moving in that direction as well? That's really what I was asking about for the histories. And Jason, I think
Sure.
you answered what happened with Tigers.
I think it's a possibility.
Could be.
Right now, all of the utilities that utilize the right of way in the cities that charge a right of way fee, including their own utilities, pay a right of way fee for that service. Right now, I'll use Hillsborough as an example. They have a 3.5. They could go up to 5 and charge additional. I think it's called a privilege tax if you go above 3.5. But
The state legislature enabled that too.
Yeah. so the other ones
Similar to the
could.
franchise fee that we
Yeah.
get from utilities.
Yeah. The others could implement a right of way fee.
We don't get this, these kids.
And for clarity, a right-of-way fee is generally also referred to as the franchise fee.
I just want to normalize.
And as far as the admin fees, the cost for billing, as we mentioned, currently the updated IGAs, the cities of Cornelius, Beaverton, and Hillsborough have those. Hillsborough, once they put that IG in effect and had the ability to charge the fee, they went ahead and added that to their rate to collect some cost for billing. Beaverton has been waiting to determine what that would look like for theirs.
And so it's only 2% on the regional rate.
Yes, so they apply the 2% to the regional rate for both Sani and Storm.
To go back to Catherine's earlier, Chair's earlier comment about the customer base, another way to look at this is what is the cost per customer? And I think that's what we're trying to get to.
Yeah.
I'd like to.
Well, it also helps with context of size too.
Mhm.
That's all.
So the next two slides, these are slides that were included in a presentation that we did for the cities back on July 27th. And it was really, the meeting was related to costs on billing that the cities are doing on our behalf. In the past, we've been approached by the cities on related to this fee, and it's always been broached as a percentage of revenue. So we put together this imputed scenarios of different percentage billing. So we started with a billing fee at 1%, went down to 4%. We showed it by city and then the impact. So when you're looking over and 1 year total, that would basically be our billing cost that we would put into our regional rate to bill out if they went that route. So 1% is 1.1 million and 4% is 4.4 million across all cities.
I think the point you just made about the fact that this will ultimately end up in our rates is an important one. There's no free ride here.
Just to your point, Director Snyder, like the cities have been covering the costs of billing on our behalf. I just think we need to own that.
Yeah.
And this is part of resolving this moving forward.
Mhm.
Now it's what is the appropriate percentage? And that's the next question we'll be working through with them.
So it's just kind
We'd
of
also get the fee related to the cost.
Yes,
Y- y-
if they start collecting a fee.
It'll in the long run drive our rates up.
Yeah.
So the second slide, this is really just taking those costs and showing how they would impact our regional rate. So this slide is showing in that first column, the CWS regional rate. That's our current regional rate for a original customer, average HCCF. So it's sanitary sewer rate of $48.43 a month and our stormwater rate at $2.93. So this is showing like the rate impacted between 1% and 4% on that rate. And one thing I'll remind the group of is when we presented on our financial forecast, when you looked at our forecast over through 2031, we are anticipating we are running at a deficit, spending down some of our reserves, going maybe slightly under target. So when you look at adding additional costs, it probably has a cost impact on our rate. However, we are committed, like we mentioned previously, every year we go in and we update our cost of service study and our forecast, and we look at our capital program and we identify, can we adjust those rates? So our hope is we can adjust rates for based on our capital delivery, and potentially then also help with that the impact that these billing costs would have to our customers within the cities too, trying to keep those fees down as much as possible.
That's something just and we committed to doing with the cities because again, taking a customer first approach is what can we all do to minimize the impacts on the customers. And we could charge the bare minimum we need for the admin fees associated with billing. And we can also go back and look at what our spending plan is for our cost of service study and just revisit it. We're going to revisit it anyways on an annual basis. So why not look at it at the same time?
So I would suggest, I really appreciate your repeating it multiple times in this presentation, but you got to put the words on the slides.
Sure.
Up front and at the end, at least.
one piece that was talked about too regarding the cost of billing for the cities and how they've taken that on is use of credit cards. So merchant fees is a cost that they've incurred all this time, and it's shifted to their local program, right? The covering of costs, because our rate is set as what it is. So this is trying to help cover some of those costs that they've been taking on for us. So now going forward, this is slide is really talking about the final report on the feasibility study and the alternatives that EMA will be producing. These are the areas that are weighted along alternatives to determine, so the two drivers for us is the cost to us of providing the service, but also the control, how much access we have to our customer. Those are all impacted, and then they adjust your risk. So the exposure to the billing, as you take and bring in more customers, there's a risk of cost to your program versus how it was previously, but also the bringing that all online and billing, and then the effort that it takes, the staff that it takes to do that service. So as they go forward with alternatives, they're going to weigh them across that cost and control, those things that CWS is trying to gain some of, but then the risk and effort that are related to that. Does it make sense then to go forward with that alternative?
So Raheem, this is where I really appreciate your nuance, because in the black and white, so to speak, the wording here, how much billing CWS owns, sounds a little bit Big Brother-ish. It's, to me, really about the access that the agency needs to the needed customer information, and drawing the line between that information and why CWS needs it. It's to ensure we're maintaining good service at reasonable rates for the customer. So
I had made a note about just specifically that point, that if we're going to be paying, what was my exact note? We should have more access to the data and customer information.
We have that opportunity as we look at that separate MOU to maybe define that a little more. But those are, right now it can't just be we give you 2% and we call it a day. It's we're giving you 2%. Well, we're giving you the costs that it takes for you to bill. We need this information on the back end too.
this is where I'm hoping that the board would be interested in having a conversation about what oversight means for us as the board of directors, because having read the packet ahead of time, I'm not seeing it come through in the words in the packet. So you're doing a great job in the meeting of making sure not only that I hear it, but that I internalize it. But I've been with this agency for 7.5 years, and I'm a little tired of continuing to have to comment about the nuance of language. That's all.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
So currently, EMA has identified different alternatives that they're looking at that are then, as part of the final report, they put it on that matrix and identify the cost, is it meeting our goals, but the risks and the effort that it requires. So over on the far left, it's keep the current billers, least change in model, keep it status quo, maybe renegotiate terms within those agreements, or for instance with TVWD, do some form of fee for service that allows then for a more transparent, or I'd say defined fee, a known control of fee over time. And alternative in the middle, moving more towards full ownership, is outsourcing our billing to a service bureau as an option, or charging wholesale to cities. And what that means is we would bill the cities for our service, and they would be responsible then for setting rates and billing their customer. Very different billing.
Can you do that on a monthly rate? Because for years we've been hearing the only city you can really do that with is Sherwood because of the way the pipe system is set up. So using this wholesale on this slide and in this context is very different.
I mean, that's a more common approach with water, right?
Yes. And flow isn't always the way to bill too, but this is just an alternative listed. We go forward, we'll talk about what we're recommending in short term. But this is if you're looking at all alternatives.
So this is just a scheme.
Yeah, so this is EMA saying these are some of the alternatives you
Universe.
could look at. But it isn't maybe what we would recommend and go down, right, the road, but it is an alternative. And then finally, that the extreme of full billing directly by Clean Water Services. We've talked about the effort, the risk, and everything, the cost that entails. So from there, now we're talking about when we're evaluating our options and moving forward with this feasibility study. As we looked at the data, and as you've seen today, no one size fits all within not only our joint billing with Tualatin Valley Water District, but the separate billing with the 7 cities. So as we look at our alternatives, the thing we weighed the most that Raheem mentioned was the action should be customer facing and focused. There should be transparency to the customer of what they're paying for their what it costs for their service, and and how we bill should not impact the customer negatively. We should look for effective ways to bill for the customer.
That I can't agree with the words on this slide. No cost impact to customer due to billing decisions. That goes totally against everything you've said previously.
Yeah.
So it has to be
Minimize.
yes.
Yeah, that's a good
Yes.
point. Yep. Yeah, I agree. So for our one billing partner, Tualatin Valley Water District, in the short term, we're looking at the status quo. So continuing to bill, joint bill with TVWD. And when we talk short term, we're talking, currently 6 months to a year into 3 years, right? In the long term, we're going to continue to look at the cost benefit and do any analysis of if we were to provide our billing in-house at Clean Water Services, what would that look like? What would the cost be? And working then to negotiate along the way with the TVWD on how we bill and offer service, keeping in mind the most cost-effective way to bill the customer.
One thing just to point out, going back to a previous slide that Kathy showed the timeline. We have an executed agreement with them to go up to 2030. TVWD is going to, for their own due diligence, look at what makes sense for them to build beyond that. What is the mechanism? Should they stay with the same provider? Should they do something different? There's a unique opportunity at that point for us to do a cost benefit analysis as well, to say, should we stay with TVWD or do we do this on our own? So that's why when Kathy was talking about short term, we don't need to make that decision today, but we do need to make that decision in the next few years. So let's time it to when it makes the most sense.
And I would say, wait a second. There's an omission of information in the overview. If you go back to slide 6, because that's the slide you're talking about. I remember you're briefing us on moving from the older TVWD billing system over to the SAS and the time that it took to prepare for that, plan for that, implement that, and then any cleanup after that. So there's really 3 phases. That wasn't even included here. And that's a really important data set, Raheem.
Yes.
Because 2030 is just around the corner in our time, in the next board's time. And you've got to plan in, that 2022 experience, that was once you had each identified what software you were going to do, you had that 3-year implementation, or it wasn't a 3-year implementation, but a 3-phase implementation. So the new board's going to need to know about that in 2027. So we are here in 2026. I got too complacent around July 2025. It's like, oh no, Catherine, 2020, you've only got 2027 to 2030 to figure this out. Holy smokes, with the new board.
Switching gears momentarily, and back to kind of where we were, is there any, one thing that occurs to me is that we have 7 cities and a number of other organizations that are like all trying to operate a very similar-ish billing system for their utilities, many times on our behalf also. But like, is there any conversation among the cities of trying to do this together for cost efficiency reasons?
Not yet. And I say yet, but not yet. I think this process that we were going through with them is even like, usually we'll talk about this in a minute, the assistance programs. Even that alone, they have different systems,
Right.
processes, and there's all these different overheads. Maybe the next version of what we talk about is a one utility billing approach that includes assistance programs. We're not there right now, just
Okay.
to be blunt.
I mean, it should at least be probably in some of those people's minds.
Yeah.
Because what I'm getting out of this is what's happening in each city, and I kind of knew this from the Tigard perspective. You know, it's not probably the most efficient way to do this for 600,000 people.
So next for the 7 cities that bill our regional rates for us, we would continue to bill with those, with them, and they would bill our regional fee and remit. We would look at renegotiating terms. Part of that is looking at that billing admin fee and how, what that fee would be and how it would be administered in the near term.
I know this is really hard to do on one slide. You wouldn't be able to do it as a chart. You're gonna have to figure out, I think this slide especially warrants, I'm thinking about for your next board, this is a very useful slide to have it all here together. But in that white space that's up there, we need a we are here date. And today it's August 2026, but there's that 2030 date. So it really reminds me, I mean, you saw a big light bulb moment for me that you got to figure this out pretty swiftly. I mean, in a year's time is fast in government time because of everything, all the other stresses and strains. And I really appreciate the work and the conversations and the level of collaboration and partnership you're all having, and the respect you have for one another. But from the board perspective, we really have to appreciate the timeliness of direction and decision making for us, and the timeliness of the direction that you need from the board in order to make the investments, the budgetary investments, the agreement investments. To put it simply,
Yeah.
It's that takes me back to that expression you had me. Yes. So that's all. Thank you.
And then finally, on for clean water services in the long term. In the short term, we've talked in this next year, we're continuing to bill with TVWD. As we move forward in that 5-year period, during that period, both 12 Valley Water District and Clean Water Services will be evaluating how we feasibility and alternatives to providing billing service. And over that time period, we'll determine whether it makes sense to continue billing together or if there, it makes sense to bill separately. But it's more within that 5-year time frame of that decision.
All 165 customers are important. Yep. Thank you.
So that really touches on the billing side of the presentation. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the assistance program itself. So this slide is showing you EMA has collected data from all of our billing partners on the assistance programs that they currently offer. When you're looking at the slide here in that first column, it's showing you that most of those assistance programs, they are based on an amount per month or mainly year that is given through their assistance program. It's usually for customers that have an income qualification and is evaluated by a third party. We do provide an exhibit in the discussion paper that gives the more information specific to these individual plans. This is really summarized on this slide, but this shows you the programs that are currently being offered. So for an income assistance program, currently Tualatin Valley Water District is the only billing partner that offers that program. I talk in more detail of what that program looks like in the discussion paper, but the difference between an income assistance and a emergency assistance is it's an ongoing program for customers that at an income level to meet to pay their utility costs.
Northwest Natural
It's like, yeah, and it normally requires a rate adjustment to the program related to customers that don't qualify, sometimes subsidize then customers that do qualify for the program. But it's a long-term program to meet their costs.
So I want to make sure I understand this point. TVWD has an income assistance program just as the other cities do.
No.
Well, not the same. So you lost me in the clarity of income assistance versus emergency.
Yeah, let's do that first then. So income assistance we just discussed is an ongoing program for customers that meet a financial threshold, and it's offered continually. It usually does require a rate adjustment for those that
Got the definition.
yeah. So then for emergency assistance, that's a one-time payment to somebody who's in a
That only
financial
TVWD
or something
does.
crisis. They offer one too.
Perhaps I could add some
I'm
clarity.
Why
confused.
does it say no in that column?
So there
I'm
is
very confused.
And right below it is.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
they have their own.
the TV, okay,
Yeah.
because the cities make it sound like
Categories.
it's not emergency assistance,
Oh,
it's income
TVWD is on
assistance.
2 lines.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry that confusion. Yeah, TVW does offer an emergency assistance and also an income assistance. They're the only billing partner that does the income assistance program. All the others offer an emergency or one-time assistance a year at a set amount. You still meet some financial,
but it could be every single year.
it could a person could come back.
But I'll and all the different conversations I've had with different city councilors about this, they view it as income assistance, not emergency assistance. That's the way it's been phrased to
And
me.
I guess partly too is because part of the evaluation of eligibility is an
Is the-
income
yeah,
view by
yeah.
a third party.
I don't think they're being super precise in the
So-
words they're using.
So we need this slide to have a clear definition of the difference. Because the emergency assistant is still income based. But what the heck is the difference?
One's ongoing.
Ongoing,
It's ongoing.
every month, your bill's 20% less.
For
than it
how
would be
long?
Ever, or as
Yes.
long as you qualify.
Annually,
So-
it's you meet qualifications.
So that doesn't carry water with me, Director Trees, because if annually you have to meet the same income bar, then they mean the same thing.
Well, I'll clarify for Tualatin Valley Water District, they qualify for 2 years. Excuse me. But and then at that second year, they have to reapply.
For which the income
Income
assistance?
assistance.
Okay,
Emergency assistance is really you can't pay your bill. You've had a financial crisis. You call in. They work with you to see if you meet and qualify for eligibility to receive some assistance on that bill
Yeah.
up to a certain dollar amount.
And is it a single bill,
It's the dollar amount in total. They use it.
which is different
To
than
spread.
ongoing
Yeah.
percentage off your bill?
But a person could have a financial issue in a subsequent year and apply once
yeah,
for the
yeah.
program.
You apply for both if you're a TWD partner.
That I don't know. I don't know.
I was on
could
the
ask.
committee back, I think it was 2017, that designed this or that worked on the income assistance program. And so it's been in place since I believe like 2018 or 19. It was
Mm,
before I was a commissioner.
they implemented the CAP program in 2020, 2 years ago, 2023.
I think you might be thinking about the emergency assistance.
Yeah.
Maybe yes, you're right. Thank you. Because previous to that time, the employees of
Yes.
TWD
Care to share.
put in money from their paychecks for an emergency program.
Yes.
So
Wow.
thank you for that.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you for that clarification. So,
So I think in a way, it's a distinction without a difference
Mm.
between income assistance and emergency assistance, with the exception of the TBWD use. Because you're making a distinction here for all of the cities, like they're not doing something. But from their standpoint, for their customers, who are also our customers, are saying we have a need right now. And that's where it's very similar to the emergency assistance. The difference is TBWD also has a 2-year option.
So keep in mind too that when you implement,
We're the ones that are going to have to legitimize this to
Yeah.
our city councilors.
Maybe another way to maybe look at this is the income assistance program is only offered by TVWD today. And that is once somebody demonstrates they meet certain criteria, they're allowed to get, I think it's a 20%
20%,
reduction
yeah.
on their water rates for 2 years. And then they have to revalidate that again if they need it. On an emergency assistance, each program looks a little different between each city. So they have different caps. They have different amount of times you can apply during the year. And it is essentially intended to be a one-time thing. That may be a second-time thing if you don't go above the cap. That's where some of the complexities are between their
So
different
my
programs.
problem is, I don't want us to have to do the work to normalize that. And I don't want us to have to design this many number of options.
I'm glad you said that because one of our,
It's ridiculous.
why don't you go ahead, Kathy?
So that is next slide down. We'll talk about that. This is where that's why we're recommending that. So in the short term, we can provide an assistance program. We meet the cities with the same plans they're offering. We work with them and they would administer that. They're familiar with, they have the third party, they have the program set up. We would fund our share of that program in alignment with what they currently offer. And to see that, so I know in the past you've asked for exposure. So we put on the slide under estimated cost for clean water services with the numbers that we have so far. Is about 241,000 a year. That is 0.13% of our revenue. Very, very small amount. Would not have a negative impact on rates for our customers.
one time per year or whatever it might be at a cap of between 150 and 450.
Under their existing programs that are offered.
So essentially saying it a different way, if we today just participated in the city's emergency assistance program as it's set up today for them, it would cost us 241,000 to do that, which is what we would recommend.
Because in the short
Paying
run,
that
you
to
can
make
implement
it
that
just-
without.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I was
Meeting them at where they are in their program.
Thank you.
Match
I-
them
That didn't click with me.
for our customers.
This speaks to Director Harrington's concern about having to like tailor different programs and all that. Just do what they're doing. And that way it keeps it even more simpler and easier for the customer to apply for it should they need it.
But I think from my standpoint, there's a threshold. The point where it becomes 1% of an impact on revenue and maybe even down to 0.5%. I don't know. 1% feels more comfortable. That's when things are a little out of whack. That says to me, and also I would expect that in every budget year, or whatever time we do the rate setting, that there's a summary like this. Yeah, so that there is that transparency, that's all.
So what's the unincorporated question?
Your TVWD.
So we would administer the plan with TVWD.
Okay,
Mhm.
so we would follow
Currently.
TVWD.
Not just the cities, it's cities plus CW.
Yes,
Yeah,
plus
so we
TVWD.
follow the,
all billing partners.
their program.
Oh, with
the
all
350.
Mhm.
Okay, but got it. All right, then I'm comfortable with that.
For clarity too, we're also not recommending at this time to do an income program. Let's start with the emergency. Let's iron that out, and we can come back and talk about an income program later.
But emergency program that is administered using the city's pre-existing or the partner's pre-existing criteria.
Yes, yes.
I really like this.
But I think you also need a caveat on this slide that emergency assistance, there is some kind of income test.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It does not meet whatever the cities and TVWDs.
Because we're relying upon their income test.
Yes.
Which I think is on your next slide, right?
Yeah. So like similar to billing, we noted all the cities and TVD do things differently. Our billing partners all do differently. There's no one size that fits all. So we felt like the best way to meet and expedite providing a program for our customers and relief is to focus on providing a program in alignment with what the cities currently offer. Long term, we would look at evaluating. I mentioned billing just district wide, but also what about our own program, assistance program? We establish ourselves with our own terms.
Why
Evaluate.
would I want to support a policy that instead of supporting emergency assistance, we have an income assistance?
That's
They fundamentally serve different purposes.
Yeah.
That's why I think the TVWD language doesn't help anybody. Because then you're saying long-term, you're asking us to make a policy decision to take a TVWD-like income assistance and apply it across the whole region. And that isn't the way the cities have decided to go with it.
Yes, you're absolutely right on that. And that is not something we want to do right now. But as we talk to the cities about, it goes back to the billing conversations.
Well, then you'll have to, if you're asking me for direction today, then you have to prove to me that in some way that the cities agree that they want to see a region-wide income assistance program versus just shifting the emergency assistance program within CWS versus achieving it through the partners,
Yeah,
which I think is more to your goal, but troublesome language for me in that second bullet.
yeah, and we can be more clear as we bring something forward in a resolution and order. All we would suggest at this point is focus on the short term
Mhm.
decisions.
Work it through the partners
Exactly.
versus doing it on our own.
Exactly.
I'm-
The emergency
I can support that today.
and long-term continue to evaluate
Yes.
an assistance program.
Internally by CWS. Yeah.
because definitely if the cities were to take on an income assistance, they would have to agree to do it because it does have an impact on their billing system, right? It would have to be something that they wanted to do.
And that's where
Mhm,
I don't care for the way you're putting it.
mhm.
Many of them don't administer these programs correctly, by the
Yeah,
way.
they do it through a third party. Yeah. But their billing system itself would
Has
have
to
to
deal
be
with it.
set up to do a program like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Director Harrington, I see your point on the wording. So we can be clear on the RNO because we have to bring forward an RNO to get formal direction. When we bring the RNO forward, we will just be very specific to what the short-term plan is around the emergency assistance, which would be to just match what the cities and TVWD are doing related to emergency assistance programs they have in place. Would that work for the board?
It supports the partner programs.
Yes.
I still think you understand the nuance. but Kathy does not, about what the goal is for the long term. And the goal long term is, instead of working the assistance through the partners, it's working it in-house as part of CWS structure. Or something, but you got to stop with this income assistance program.
I'm not sure I'm tracking 100%, but I think I know what your intent of that is.
I don't have a problem in your evaluating long-term doing something differently, but I'm sick and tired now of rat holing on the difference between emergency assistance and income assistance when only one partner organization has income assistance.
Okay. Okay.
So the timeline we provided, this is a short-term timeline right here. And so it talks about where we started out with the kickoff of our feasibility study in June of 2026. From June through July, EMA has been meeting with our billing partners, pulling documentation and getting narrative on potential alternate states. Today we're meeting, which in July we met, 27th, we met with the cities to talk about providing reimbursement for billing services, and we're working towards an agreement on that. In August, we're meeting today with the board for a work session to give you an update on data collected to date and alternatives. We distributed this presentation to the cities and received some of their input on that. In October, EMA is going to be delivering their final report with their alternatives and concluding in their cost, risk, and advantages and disadvantages of the different alternatives for billing in the future state. In December, the final EMA will bring the final presentation and findings to the board. And also in December, we're looking to provide an MOU related to our billing, providing admin billing fees for the cities, but also this emergency assistance program.
So this would be concluded with this board.
The decision-making would, but you're touching on where I have a problem with this timeline. It's missing a go live date. Are you asking for the go live date to be within this current fiscal year or go live within the next fiscal year? That's all I need to know.
Ideally, it'd be great if you could do a go live date in the next fiscal year. But I think based on some of the feedback we get from the cities, as far as the billing costs as well, and when they can implement some of that, that might drive it a little earlier. But it would be much cleaner if we just match it up with the go live date of the new fiscal year.
So the reason I need a little bit more information, then I'm comfortable
Sure.
with next fiscal year, clearly, because of the budget and the rates. But if you want us to take action, and direction-wise, I think I'm pretty comfortable. This discussion's been very helpful. We need to understand that there is some potential cost exposure during this current fiscal year.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
But I understand from what you talked to earlier about the reserves and how we've been using that to smooth out the subsidy that UUAs and partner cities were getting previously or still. You've got a nice soft ramp there that there's some impact to that potential ramp because we would need to cover those costs that are all very reasonable costs in my mind, but I just need to see it.
Yeah, we can add that to the timeline, and then as we're going to be regrouping with the cities, so we can get some more clarity on implementation date. There may be implement the emergency assistance program now, and then the billing in the new fiscal year, because those are two separate things, but we can bring those options back to you.
Well, and I'm totally open to, given that the cost impact is measured, you've measured it really well with the data right here, that I'm willing very now to take the risk of covering that cost within this current fiscal year. So that where there is readiness, great. And where there isn't readiness, we'll be fully ready July 1 and if they're not ready until after that, that's fine. But so we're all looking forward and not looking backward. There's no backwards cost coverage.
And my concern is making sure that this board that's done the work, that has asked for the feasibility study, has the responsibility to make the decision before the end of the year. And while I understand the implementation date is dependent on other surrounding factors, I just don't want to move this into the new board who hasn't owned this process from the beginning. So
A
that's
lot of background.
yeah, that's just not fair in my estimation for them.
And you've spoken to that background today, but I think that needs to be included in the materials that we take action on to effectuate the direction that we're giving you here today. That's all.
We can memorialize that in the RNO that you adopt.
Yeah.
And to your points, it would be staff's preference too if this board made the decision, because then we can expeditiously implement.
So I'm going to encourage you along. Let's go to the next slide because I think you'll like the answers to the questions. But we can do it individually so that we have the work group summary.
So for next steps, EMA is going to be issuing a report in October that's going to identify alternatives and provide the cost impact, resource requirements, and advantages and disadvantages of the different alternatives to weigh in on a future state.
Future state. So it isn't for going to a status quo. We're not reliant upon it being done. I
Will
mean,
you weigh the status quo?
let me put it differently.
Mhm.
If you could come to us with an RNO in September, would we have to wait for the final report in October?
I don't think so. I think we've got general direction here to bring a proposal forward that we could do that sooner.
Just
The final
curious.
report will just support it.
I guess 3 questions.
I am too.
So am I. So, but I do want to make sure that part of the materials goes back to the how we got here. This work benefited from the foundation of the updated cost of service study, the updated rate study. And frankly, all the budget, CIP, and rate work that you have brought to this board. And I say that to compliment you, Kathy, and all of your team members that have done the work. Because I'm open and honest with you here, right? We go through the work that I need, but you always get me to where you're hoping I'll be. Okay? So this speaks to the trusting relationship and openness and transparency. And I say that now because you have a new board next year. And I want you to know that you have the track record and the skills. I'm a little different, I realize, in many ways, but one of them is I start in a place of trust. But I recognize that not everyone does that. So I want you to carry that confidence in.
Thank you. Really in depth. Very educated.
And I probably made you spend too much time on that one topic with all I had to say and all my questions. I apologize to staff and to my colleagues.
Well, we ran 80 minutes and we didn't have 2 of our 5 board members.
So we have the talking.
A lot of we've been talking for,
There's a lot of nuance in that.
yes, that too.
So thank you.
Thanks for the direction. We have one more item. I was curious how you felt about having that discussion today on that item, or would you like to punt that to another?
county folks are already kind of.
The only reason why I ask is today we were just at the very, very beginning stage of updating our healthy streams plan.
Yeah.
All we were seeking direction from was, are you okay with us engaging with CWAC on it? Which I would assume you would be, but I didn't want to speak for you all.
So could we just spend 5 minutes on it and collect our feedback?
I've read the information.
Yeah,
and
me too.
I'm comfortable.
I think it's really, go ahead, Jason.
No, I agree.
Okay, well, I'll jump in then. Thank you for the material. Well, many of us have, you made sure that the current board, the 2020 board onward, or 2019 onward, knew about the Healthy Streams program. It's a really valuable program. My only further information needs was to enlighten me a little bit on how pests like the emerald ash borer beetle and then I'm going to bring another one in that's just affecting all the street trees in my neighborhood. Well, all of a certain type of tree is black knot fungus. And so we have to replace all of our street trees. So I don't know. You have all the material I need to value this program and to move forward with CWAC on it, because I know it'll be so beneficial. But I just don't know how those kinds of threats to all the investment of plants we made will be affected. So I'm hoping that that will be made clearer to both CWAC and the board in future milestones on this topic, because it affects not just CWS operations and the permit, but it also affects the investment decisions that you need the board to make. And you do a really excellent job of helping us understand really scientific and artful things in a very approachable, common person's experience. So, yeah, and I similar to that, does it play a role in the condition adjustment and condition changes? That's all. So, I think we got thumbs up.
So can I just introduce the team?
I'm sorry, you're
That was just, I know we're trying to sum.
sorry.
Thank you for your flexibility.
Yeah, and your patience with us, Reeve.
So Lisa and Crystal's leading the project. It's out of Lisa's team. So I do want to just maybe give them a minute or two to just introduce themselves and share a Cliff Notes version of the plan.
Sure. So my name is Lisa Huntington, Director of Natural Systems Enhancement Stewardship Department.
I'm Crystal Griffith. I'm a program manager in watershed planning in natural systems.
And many of you are familiar with the plan that was adopted in 2005, really tried to integrate the water quality, water quantity, and habitat needs of the watershed to identify actions needed to maintain compliance with an eye toward watershed health. You've heard a lot about cost of service study. As part of that, we recognize the need to have the next iteration of this plan to guide our work going forward. That's really what we're hoping to do. We're early in the process. We're currently planned to come on the consent agenda to ask you to authorize CWAC, but if you would like a presentation instead, we can be flexible with that. So, okay, perfect. Great.
The curiosity question that I have is, Lisa, for you and your team, what percentage of the team, today's team that will carry, I'll call it the 2.0 or the next iteration forward, what percent of the team participated in the definition of the original plan versus the implementation? And the reason I'm curious about this is it's self-reinforcing for us on the nature of the workforce. So you could just add that factoid in the topic sheet, but it may be an interesting tidbit for CWAC as well. And I know this is the domain of all of you. You're the experts. And I continue to trust in that. But you've done a lot to ensure that we appreciate the workforce, the skill of the workforce, and the challenging goals that we ask you to operationalize through the workforce.
And I'll just add, this is a plan that informs broadly across the district. It's not just the
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We can add that.
Yep.
The item.
Cool. Great. Job well done.
Thank
Thank you for making it so quick and easy. Okay, so at this juncture, board and leadership communication, sorry.
Nothing from me. You will get I'm getting into the cycle of sending you regular updates. You will see the first version of that this week.
Oh, well, you've sent us updates before. We'll just.
Kind of formalize it a little.
Yeah, okay.
That was it.
Cool.
I don't have any.
I don't have anything.
Nope, as usual, Clean Water Services work is valuable and interesting. So, so just for clarity, we're going to adjourn this Clean Water Services work session meeting, take a minute break before we convene as the Washington County Board of Directors work session at 11:10. Okay,
Great.
so motion, oh, I don't need a motion for a work session. We're hereby adjourned. Thank you, everyone.